It's AM 650 KGAB Radio. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. I got callers on the line, but guys, different half hour, different guests. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go, and I'll open up the phones a little bit later on. AM 650 KGAB Radio. Now, right now, sitting in front of me is Sam, who's with AARP, and part of what we're going to be talking about today is something that I complain about. We were just talking about during the break here, which is phone scams. Yeah. In general. And when it comes to a phone scam, my theory is they only exist because people fall for them.
Absolutely. You know, and as an organization, AARP is concerned about this because our membership, which is the 50 plus, unfortunately, disproportionately are falling prey.
Why?
Well, there's a couple of reasons.
Okay.
One, they have more disposable income oftentimes.
Right.
You know, people are retired or they're in a stage in their life where they have more income and more money to hand over to those scammers. Mm-hmm. The other reason is they can be vulnerable, whether it's because they're lonely or isolated or because there's some diminishing mental capacity.
I'm going with that last one on there. Well, I home cared my dad through Alzheimer's for 6 years.
I know.
And so they're looking for that diminished capacity. Now, let me tell you a real quick funny story before we get into this. I am a hero. I give myself that title because of this. I was taking care of my dad. He was in the mid stages of Alzheimer's. Some phone scammer called. I don't know, might have just been a telemarketer. I don't know. And the guy wanted to talk to my dad, and I kept saying, well, this is his son. No, I need to talk to. And the guy was very insistent. Mm-hmm. So I thought, fine, you want to talk to him? Okay. So I just handed the phone to my dad. And my dad was very happy to talk to this young man on the phone. You ever been to Hawaii? Mm-hmm. I've been to Hawaii. I like Hawaii. This went on for 20 minutes before the telemarketer finally hung up. And I thought, here's why I consider myself having done just a great thing, because this is nothing but win-win. First off, my dad thanked me for allowing him to talk to that very nice young man.
Yeah.
The telemarketer was mad as hell because of his time that was completely wasted. And at that point, I'm looking at the situation going win-win all the way around.
Well, and you made the telemarketer very mad, but you also may have protected a few other people that he may have scammed in the process.
See, now, okay.
You know, you're joking, but Glenn, you know, caregivers are heroes.
I really did do that, though.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah,
anyway, you're joking about being a hero, yes. but you know, just sort of off topic. You know, people who care for their parents, that is a heroic act. People who are caregivers, and so anyway, but here's the reality for a lot of folks. You know, that situation goes differently sometimes, and sometimes they say, well, give us your credit card number and we'll make sure we get this process for you.
Sure.
But what we're seeing, like I said, they're becoming more sophisticated. The days of the sort of Nigerian prince email scam. Oh, the other thing is when you asked about why, the fastest growing demographic, the fastest growing group of users of Facebook, of these internet dating sites, are people who are 50 and older. Okay. And so they're less familiar with the technology. They're less familiar with the internet and how it works. And so they sort of take at face value some of these things that you and I, who have, you know, been dealing with this for a long time, would look at that and immediately see a red flag. Okay. They say, well, it's there and it must be legit, or this person's reaching out.
So I should be suspicious of the many Russian women who are trying to contact me on Facebook every day?
Well, I don't know. Some of them are probably legit. I think they, but so let's talk about how these things happen.
Yeah.
Because you talk about these Russian women. There are two ways that they happen, really. There's the sort of innocent bystander way,
right,
where you're just on Facebook looking at stuff, and all of a sudden you get a friend request from somebody who you don't know. Now, they're not just gonna say, "Hey, I'm a Russian, model who wants to, connect with you."
Sure.
They will look at your Facebook profile. They'll look at where you went to college. They'll look at your family. They'll find some connecting point. They'll say, "Hey, do you remember me from the University of Wyoming? We were there at the same time." And so as soon as they have that connection, then they're in, and you're talking with them.
In fact, I've noticed that it used to be they just put some big-breasted woman really looking sexy, and that was it.
Right.
Now, though, there's pictures that come up where it looks like some farm girl that would possibly come from this area, and if I click on the about to get information, she's from around Cheyenne somewhere, but obviously you look a little deeper into it, and here come all of those red flags popping up.
So that's the first way. It's what I call the innocent bystander. You're just minding your own business, and all of a sudden somebody reaches out to you. The other way And this is, you know, the days when people used to find relationships online. Remember when everybody was like, really? That's how you met your wife? That's really weird and that's taboo. Those are over. Like people go to dating, pretty common and generally pretty safe.
Yeah.
And so you have the websites like Match.com, eHarmony.com, FarmersOnly.com. And so these are people who are actively seeking relationships. And so they will connect with somebody that looks like somebody from their community or somebody that, you know, you have similar interests. And the next thing you know, you are sending pictures to that person. You're having intimate conversations, sending intimate type pictures to that person. And let me just, so whether it's the minding my own business or the actively searching for a relationship, this is how these things happen. You start sharing information. You connect with this person, and they'll say, they typically won't say they're from Cheyenne or from your community. They'll say they're working overseas or they're across the country, and they'll say, you know, I really want to come to Cheyenne and meet you. I really want to come and I want to connect. But then every time that happens, something will come up, and inevitably they'll say, I have a family emergency, a medical emergency, or I have an issue with my visa if they're overseas, and I need like $2,500. I just need to borrow it. I'll pay you back when I get back into the country, or I'll pay you back as soon as I can. Okay, as soon as they ask for any money,
cut it off.
Cut it off.
Yeah,
cut it off. That's not. And listen, people listening, most of the people listening probably know someone who's had to deal with this. And I'll say this: some of the people listening are in the middle of it right now. Yeah. The reason why it's so hard to cut off is because love is blind. Sure. Right?
Oh, they built that personal relationship. They got into your head.
Well, and worse, sometimes they may have some pictures of you that, you know, if your friends and family saw. And so they
don't send those naked pics on the internet. Don't do that.
Yes, that's a good rule of life, a rule of thumb for life.
Well, what I try to tell people is, if you're doing anything on the internet, you are not in your closet somewhere doing it privately. Oh, yeah. You're on the roof of your house with a megaphone, and everybody in town can see it and hear it. Go ahead and grab your headphones over there. This call might be for you. This is Glenn, who's on the phone.
Morning, this is Jim.
Yes, sir.
I seem to be a regular hitter here with calls that come in almost once or twice a week on a regular basis. I was told, and I've tried it, I'm not sure it works for sure. Do you know offhand? I was told if you push after they answer, you answer, and there's a voice, you push 1, it blocks them.
So, Jim, unfortunately, I've never heard that's the case. Let me tell you what you should do, because these things, these robocalls, they're scams, or they're just really annoying, and you're getting the incidence of robocalls are increasing 10, 20, 30-fold. You're probably getting one of these a day. What they say you should do is you can't say to them, put me on a no-call number or put me on your no-call list. What they say you should do is, if you get a call from one of these numbers, don't answer it and say, hello, this is Jim, hello. What you should do is answer it with silence. And if as soon as the recording starts, hang up your phone. The system will see that as an invalid number, and so you will be removed from that list. That's really the only way that you can do it. Now, there are ways that you can block those calls through your telephone provider, but try that. Answer with silence if it's a number you don't recognize, and if it remains silent, sometimes it won't even start. It won't trigger the recorded message until they hear a voice on the other end. So if there's no recorded message, or as soon as it starts, you hang up, the system will read that as an invalid number, and you'll be removed from the list. But unfortunately, the do not call list isn't a thing.
Another thing, well, in here, once again, here your government comes in and says, we're going to set up this thing that's going to save you. And of course, it did absolutely nothing. Right. But here's another good idea, and I'm not the only one who does this, is the people who would call me on my cell phone are the people who I have their number, they have mine. And so my phone tells me, John is calling. It gives me the person's name. Right. If it says unknown caller, I let it ring out, and then I look down to see, do I know anyone from Nashville? No, I don't. And so since I don't, I'm not going to go ahead and call that number back. I think that's one of the best ways to do it, is just never pick it up in the first place. By the way, hold that thought.
Sure.
More in a moment. AM 650, KGAB.
Are you a savvy investor looking for high returns on your savings with no restrictive terms locking you down? Wi-Hi's Max Money Market is with you. Wi-Hi's Max Money Market allows you to earn up to 2.25% APY on balances over $250,000. Start saving to the max today. Go to wihi.org/max.
Wi-Hi, we're with you.
APY equals annual percentage yield. Insured by NCUA.
A lifetime of love.
A family is about love. At a time of loss, it's also a time to remember.
Grandpa was always a giving man.
He gave us his love for a lifetime.
In this hour of loss, let us help you lift the burden. Remember a lifetime of love.
A lifetime of love.
Memories of a Lifetime of Love. Schrader, Aragon, and Jacoby Funeral Home.
Put some spring in your step at the Wyoming Work Wearhouse Spring Boot Event. All footwear at least 15% off. Quality footwear for work, hikers, and accessories. Great new brands include dry-shod chore boots, thorough good work, and new styles of your favorites. It's on right now. Sign up for your chance to win at the boot drawing. 2-pair giveaway per location. The annual Spring Boot Event. Wyoming Work Wearhouse, Gillette, Casper, Rock Springs, and Cheyenne. On now and soon.
People say you can't get much for your dollar nowadays. To those people we say, because Taco John's everyday value menu is loaded with classic tacos, burritos, desserts, and other one-of-a-kind favorites. And get this, nothing on it costs more than $3. In fact, you can get a lot of it for less than $2. And some items are only $1, which is another word for $1. So how about that for your dollar, eh? How about that? Ole the day at Taco John's.
The KGAB Wyoming Wake Up with Glenn Woods on AM 650.
8:45 is the time. AM 650 KGAB Radio. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number to get involved, 632-6500. Have Sam here from AARP as we're talking about those, scams that hit you. Email, phone, stuff like that. So what I was telling you, you were saying to me, is there's a better way of doing it. When I get one of those robocalls, immediately I let it ring out, and then I pick up the phone and take a look at it. Do I know anyone in Nashville? No, so never mind. But you tell me that will get more calls.
Yeah. Well, two things. These scammers are using local numbers now.
Yeah.
They have systems, so it's not going to come from Nashville or from New York. It's going to come from
Here.
Lander, Wyoming, or Cheyenne, Wyoming. And so that's one thing. The second thing is if you let it ring through to your voicemail, that also triggers in their system a valid phone number. Keep calling this number. If you pick it up, silence, and then hang it up, and people have studied these things, and people have, that's one way. It's not a foolproof, fail-proof way, but it's one way to get off those lists. So give that a shot.
Okay. Well, and usually when it comes to, again, if anyone ever does pick up a robocall of any kind, I was telling you this before we got on the air, I've watched an interview with some lady who said, he just wouldn't let me hang up. Let you hang? You just hang up. As soon as the guy starts his pitch, say no thank you and hang up the phone.
Well, and in defense, I mean, these scammers are becoming more persuasive, more sophisticated, smarter. They're spending literally billions of dollars every year and making more than that.
They have conventions. They study this stuff.
Oh yeah. And they play into the human psyche in really smart ways. And so she says he wouldn't let me hang up. We all say we'll just hang up the phone. But unfortunately, people get wrapped up in these conversations, and the next thing you know, they're losing money. And so back real quick, back to these romance scams. To your point, you just say you've talked to somebody. I had a friend who was involved in one of these, and it was so obvious from the outside. We're like, what are you thinking? And she's like, well, no, he tells me he loves me, and he's going to come see me, and all these things. So let me give you a couple of tips, a couple of ways that you can sort of, if you're involved in one of these, or you think you might be, or you have a friend, there's a couple things you can do online. One, they'll send you some pictures typically. And as you said, if the pictures are of some beautiful model looking, buxom woman, then and you're some 70-year-old guy that, you know, there may be a good chance that that's not
unless
legit.
you're rich.
Unless you're really rich, and then
real good
you
chance
know what?
it's legitimate. Yeah.
You don't even worry about it. Just send them 15
fine.
grand, and but you can take an image and you can do an image search on Google. So type in Google image search, you copy that in there, and if you see that image in other places around the internet, you know it's a scam. So end it. Don't try to so cut off the relationship. Another thing you can do is you know, they'll send these really flirtatious emails, explicit emails. You can copy that and there's, understand, you're not the only person they're scamming.
Right.
They probably have 10, 15, 20, 100 of these going at the same time. Copy some of the text of that email, paste it into a search, and there are websites that track these kinds of things. If you see that language other places, end it. But at the end of the day, take these things really slow, because sometimes they're legit. I mean, sometimes you're going to find love. Sometimes you're going to find a really great, enduring relationship.
Well, and to that, some of these dating sites are actually pretty good filters. So if you do get on one of these dating sites, make sure it's one that's actually reputable and has a filter.
And they've confirmed identities, But if you find that, that's a great point. Let the dating site know. If you realize this person is a scammer or is taking advantage of you, let the dating site know. They'll remove that person's profile. And
want to bring up next, when you do find yourself bitten by a scam, if you were, where you go to report it. Hang on just a moment. More in a moment. AM 650. KGAB.
Hop in the spring at the 16th Annual Home and Garden Show, presented by Patio Splash Hot Tubs and Spas and AM 650 KGAB at the Cheyenne Ice and Event Center, April 12th through the 14th, with local and regional vendors showcasing innovative and exciting projects and ideas. See the latest in products and services for inside and outside. Admission is free to Home and Garden 2019, April 12th through the 14th. Brought to you by Patio Splash and AM 650 KGAB. For hours and information, go to KGAB.com.
Hi, this is Steve Prescott with RE/MAX Capital Properties. The real estate market in Laramie County is great. We see that our local economy is strong, with a 5% home appreciation rate last year. The interest rates are on a slight incline, so now is the best time to sell your current home and buy your next one. Make a move while the market is favorable. When doing business with RE/MAX, you will be under contract quickly. Our average is within just 28 days, 12 days faster than the local market average. Be in your new home sooner and start living your life in your new home. Give us a call today at 307-635-0303 or connect with us online at ShineHomestore.com.
A lifetime of love, you lived a lifetime of love.
When the time comes to say goodbye, it's a chance to remember their gifts to us.
Dad used to love his walks along here.
His love will be with us every step of the way.
Life moves on, but love lasts more than a lifetime.
A lifetime of love.
Memories of a Lifetime of Love. Schrader, Aragon, and Jacoby Funeral Home.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. This is KGAB AM 650.
8:51's the time. AM 650 KGAB Radio. Go ahead and put your headphones back on, because we head on over to the next caller. We're talking phone scams right now. This is Glenn, who's on the phone.
Hi, this is Betty from Platte County.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question regarding, it's not necessarily scamming, but privacy concerns. And first, I want to compliment you on this segment this morning. Thank you so much. This is very useful information for the general public. My question is, I've gone to the dentist, a new dentist, and for me it makes sense to pay out of my pocket and not have insurance. I'm filling out these forms, and they're asking me for my driver's license number, my social security number, and I'm just curious about what your thoughts are on, why does my dentist need my driver's license or my social security number if I'm paying him right then and there with a check or with my credit card?
That is a great question. I'm going to let you go, and you can listen on here. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and what I would do, and I think you're right to be questioning and concerned about that. I would ask my dentist that. I would say, you know, I'm paying you cash or I'm paying you with a credit. It doesn't matter the form of payment. I mean, why do they need you know, your social security number? Now they may say we need it for our system, for tracking your information, and there are other ways to do that. So I think it's a valid concern. I think we get really casual with our information in this age of information, where we think that, you know, I can put all this information out there and nothing.
Well, and real quick, I even do not. I politely, when I'm asked at a retail store, can we have your phone number? No.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to give my phone number and my email address out, because I know that, well, we're not going to spam you. I'm sorry. I'll believe you, the clerk. I don't believe your company.
Well, and I'll say this, data and big data is extremely valuable. There are people who make millions and millions of dollars in collecting, aggregating, selling, and marketing this data. Now, your dentist in Platte County is not probably in that game. And so I think if you just said to them, listen, I'll give you, whatever you're comfortable giving as far as your personal information. And if they're not okay with that, I mean...
Well, here's what you do. I'll give you mine, but you have to give me your information. I want your driver's license information. This is Glenn, who's on the phone.
Glenn, this is Toby in Wheeler.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of people have quit putting their obituaries in the paper because sometimes they list their kids' name, their grandkids' name, and that's where they get this. Your kid needs help. He's in jail somewhere.
Oh, wow.
So.
All right.
Toby, you're so right. And so I don't know if you just stop putting obituaries in the paper, but these scammers are going to look for any source of information. And so think about what you put on Facebook. Think about what you put out there, because they will look at that. And there's a whole grandparent scam that I can talk about on another segment where they do exactly that. They find about your grandkids, and then they call posing as your grandkid that's stuck in Mexico on a spring break trip, and they need some money. So just be careful.
Well, in fact, and I really hate to get paranoid because people like to have a good time. Post your vacation pictures and video after you get home.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're away, hey, we're in Mexico right now.
Yep.
Well, thank you for that. Now I know what house to go to rob.
Right.
This is Glenn, who's on the phone.
This is Laura.
Yes, ma'am.
I got a question. Does AARP send money and support the Democratic Party?
So, Laura, we don't give any money to political candidates, and we don't support any political candidates or political parties. We're nonpartisan. So
okay, well, and
that's the answer.
Well, now the information that you're talking about with scammers and so on, does AARP have this on their website or places they can go to get information?
So yes. Okay. So this is a huge concern for our membership. A few years ago, we created a free resource called the Fraud Watch Network. Okay. Fraud Watch Network. And let me give you a phone number. If you feel like, or you know somebody that you think, and it's not just these relationship or romance scams. If you feel like you're involved in a scam, we have experts online, fraud experts that can walk you through how to get out of this, what your steps are, what your recourse is. The number is 877-908-3360. That's the Fraud Watch Network. The other thing that they'll do is if you want to they send out weekly what they call watchdog alerts with sort of a description of the latest scams. And half of this, I talked to Glenn, we can kind of recognize these things because we've been doing this. We've been online for a long time. It's educating yourself and being able to see what's legitimate and what's not, and they're becoming more sophisticated all the time. So they'll send out a weekly email that sort of lists the latest and greatest scams and frauds that's out there. So that's the Fraud Watch Network. You can go online, just type AARP Fraud Watch Network, and get these alerts. But you can also, if you feel like you've been, duped by someone, call that number and they'll help you figure out, what you can do.
There's the next thing, because who do you call if you've been duped? I mean, first things a lot of people would do is, they know and trust their local police, and you can certainly go there, but we might be talking something bigger than your local police. This might be FBI, something like that.
So we've talked to the U.S. Attorney about this. We've talked to the Attorney General's office about this. They have a consumer protection unit. They're concerned with these types of crimes. But jurisdiction is an issue. These things happen overseas most of the time. To recoup these dollars is nearly impossible for these local law enforcement. So educate yourself, understand that's your best protection. Enforcement is going to do what they can do, but unfortunately, their hands are tied a lot of times in these cases.
All right, thanks for coming on.